Hi guys. Thanks for joining the webinar. What I'm going to do is we've still got people filtering in. I'm going to leave it just so everyone knows till 2 minutes past 11, and then we'll begin. Um, what we're going to go through is on. It should be if everyone can see my screen. We're going to go through expense management in Ireland. We're going to be going through some of what capture expense could do, such as around the ERR reporting and what makes it quite unique in the Irish market. So I'll leave it 2 minutes before we begin, and then we'll crack on. Cool. You still got quite a lot of people joining. Just some what I do is just some admin. If no one's used Demio before, so on the right hand side, if it's all the same as my screen, you have a chat function where you can type in questions and I can answer those questions. What I'm going to do with questions is I'm going to leave them right to the end. And we'll spend 5 minutes just going through if anyone does have any specific questions about the software and what they've seen, then we can go into that. We've also got a poll halfway through the presentation, if you could all fill that in, and then we've got some other things at the end um, to just send across. That being said, though, still got a couple more people joining as I can see. Cool. Okay. We've got quite a lot of people in here right now. What we'll do then is if we begin. Cool. So hopefully I can see that everyone can see my screen, which is great. So thank you for joining. I do these quite regularly. We do them probably every month or every other month. And it's for people who want to take a look in a bit more depth into capture expense. And basically, what we're going to run through is the common problems that I found both in the Irish market and just as a whole. So everything that you guys should probably be familiar with and why you are having a look today. And then we're going to go through what makes capture expense quite unique and how we address some of those bigger problems. Cool. So before we go into any of those big problems, what I want to run through is the current state of expense reporting, both in Ireland and as a whole. What you probably might be currently going through if you're looking at this, if you're coming to this webinar, is you're probably having that receipt, people holding onto those receipts, grabbing them, making that spend. Then they're going on to Excel or they have a form of some sort where they need to fill in all those details, such as, the tax, the total, what that spend was spending quite a lot of time on that employee process of creating expenses. Then what they do is they either email it, they print out that form to then go and hand straight directly to their line manager. That line manager is then going to have to do that exact same process, check that Excel spreadsheet or form, make sure everything's correct, make sure that tax and VAT is correct, and what that spend actually is, and is that then in policy, having to then have look at several different documents in order to make sure that spend was valid. Then what we have is that Excel receipt. Then that line manager or that approver then sends that off to finance. Finance then have to do that exact same process and then upload that into their accounting software. From our client base, and when we did a lot of market research into this process, we found for one expense report from one employee, if that's for monthly or weekly claim, this process takes roughly around 45 minutes from employee to approver to finance. 45 minutes just for one employee submitting an expense form, which is just an astronomical amount of time. In terms of challenges Irish organisations face, and a lot of this is UK as well. But what we found when speaking to our Irish clients is it's super hard to generate accurate and compliant ERR reports when you're sending those to Irish Revenue. Main bulk of that is calculating those mileage rates, such as the mileage and the rates itself, such as the shortest journeys, and then being able to work out the subsistence rates for any receipt or subsistence or travel voucher that's being done. Then understanding the company policies on one side of it, and then the subsistence rates on the other side of it. What we've also found in Ireland, because these sorts of softwares haven't been expanded, or they're not as prevalent in the Irish market, is the inability to track those corporate card spends. So I'll go briefly over how we do that for you guys and some of the banks that we work with. Then also, it's really a time-consuming process. This is both for UK side, Ireland side, and globally. And then how we'll solve those risk of duplications, those invalid claims submitting expenses, And then overall collecting those receipts and then that accessibility into those internal systems. If you're not integrated, it's going to just increase on that time consuming process and that ability to actually, make the process worthwhile. So features, what we've developed for Ireland. So some of the key ones is that receipt scanning technology. We did that when we first designed the app, and then also enhanced it for the Irish market. How we've done that is really worked on our OCR technology. So that's the ability to scan in tax, not just VAT for the UK side, but tax in the Irish market as well, and then picking up certain categories and certain merchant names. It's become a pretty market standard, best in class our receipt scanning technology. So I will go through that in our demo. Also, how we've massively helped the user experience is AI for pre-populating categories. So our smart categorization. So for that employee, making it super simple. Was it travel and subsistence, was it voucher unvouch? Making that process a lot easier on that employee. Then, obviously, the ERR report that feeds directly into Irish Revenue. I'll show you that in the demo, but it's super simple for those finance teams, pulling that data together really quickly. Then obviously going into that mileage rates, the bandings of those mileage rates, and then the trips functionality that we created specifically for that Irish market. And then the main thing, obviously, you want to be reimbursed in euros. We can do that on our software, so that's all okay. And then also the other currencies as well, such as if you ever are traveling to Northern Ireland, you have the multi-currency functionality, which we have an integration with Xe.com, so making your lives a lot easier there. So the enhanced revenue report, what are we actually looking at? So one, shortest journey. We do that via Google Maps integration. Again, I will go through that. PPS numbers for identification, so you know who is making those spend. Also, the subsistence rate bandings. So how much can you actually get reimbursed back? And then obviously that file straight into Irish Revenue. And then also those categorizations, both those travel and subsistence for in-house reporting, and then obviously going on that ERR report. So, how did we put this all together, and how did we help one of our customers today? So, we work with the Care Group in Ireland, and these are some of these six icons that you can see on the side in blue. This is how we really help them create meaningful expense process and help them speed up this process entirely. One is obviously the Google Maps integration, as you can see in the middle of the screen there. How they're actually able to one create those mileage forms, but then also do the subsistence rates. Two was the vehicle duty of care system, so being able to upload that driving license, vehicle insurance, all that detail around vehicles in general, have that and that ability. They also do a lot of private mileage, so for company vehicles. So they wanted to find out how to deduct that off of their off salary and total expenses. What you can see, obviously, the ERR functionality. A massive thing that is coming both into the UK and Europe is carbon reporting. So how do we then report across all carbon emissions, not just in mileage, but in transport types, hotels, and utilities? And I will go into in depth of how we do that. Then the civil service rates for the Irish Revenue as well. So that's all the slides that I wanted to go through, and just setting the scene of how we're going to help you. What we're going to do now is go into a demonstration. But before we go into the demonstration, I think someone from my marketing team is going to be uploading a poll. If you could just fill that in whilst I'm switching over my screens, and then we can go from there. All right. Woo. Where is it? Cool. I'll give it a minute so you guys can answer. I think it should just be on your right hand side of your screen if it's the same as me. Um, cool. So what you can see now on my screen is our capture expense app. Something it's a super simple functionality for that user experience to make it really easy for them to actually submit their claims. But it has a lot of features and functionality behind the scenes. What you're seeing here is someone who has access to everything. So we have limited views for, if you're just an employee, if you're approving, if you're, administrator and finance. So employees, what they're going to view is this archive section and up here. That's all they're going to have access to. This enter on behalf of is our basically like our PA system, where you can log into someone else's device and submit on their behalf. So it will do their expenses for them. Underneath as well, you have the full approval process. That's readily available for you guys. So you can go on the phone, approve and reject claims. Then we also have at the bottom here some organization. So this documents tab, really, really useful if you want to upload all your policies associated with your organization. You can load that in on like a Word document. People can go in and actually read. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through a mileage process, our trips functionality, and then actually uploading a receipt. How it works is if I go into expense, I can then I've got the trips functionality, and I've also got the mileage functionality enabled here. So if I want to create a new trip, I can enable that. Loads up this Google Maps here. I can name the trip something. I can name the trip whatever I want. So let's say I'm just going to call it client site visit. Let's say November. I can then put in the dates, even though I'm doing it in December. If I say the 2nd from 9 o'clock, and then also on the same day, and I got back, let's say at 5 o'clock. So I can start to enable that timings, and you can see right here it said how long I was away, 8 hours. In terms of the mileage application, this can be in kilometers. I haven't actually swapped that over, but it can be done kilometers and miles. In the description, you can actually write why you were there. So I can say, visiting client, and then in the start location, end location, this is where it's using like Google Maps integration. So, you can enable some favorites such as your home address, London office, Newcastle office, or you can go really granular and you can start to put in, direct postcodes all the way. Let's say if I just click London office, as I scroll up, it's giving me my miles there and the journey I've actually done. How we enable that in the background is one, you can either do it via shortest journey on Google Maps, so how many miles or kilometers is the shortest route, or you can do it by fastest journey. I know with the ERR report, it always needs to be shortest, so we have that already defaulted and pre-enabled for all Irish clients. But in here, you can, if I wanted to, I can drag and say that, let's say I went via, you know, Stoke-on-Trent, I can enable that functionality, then drag and drop and choose my exact journey right there. But what it's doing in the background right now is it's giving me the miles done or kilometers, and it's said how far or how long I was away. So that will then enable me to then put in those different have access to these different subsistence rates. So when I save that down, and if I was to then select this as a meals and drinks, I can then add a receipt that's associated with this expense form or this trip. So I've got a receipt right here. I can take that picture and I can hit use photo. That is then give me the ability to it's going to give me the ability to then add in all the detail from this expense form right here. Because I've done it manually and I've attached it just directly to a form, it hasn't used that OCR technology, which is not helpful from your point of view. But what it will allow me to do, if I was to select this as £40 and I was to say it was a VAT, I can add that in. If I was just going to put, let's say that was a Tesco receipt and the business use was a meal. If I was then going to save this down, it's not going to let me because it doesn't fall within the trip date because I haven't updated my date here. But then two, it's not going to let me do it because it's over a certain threshold of spend. So I was going to go back here and I hit save. 10 hours rate and it's exceeded my limit of £17.92. So that's where we're really putting in the subsistence rate. So people aren't going to be able to claim over and you're always going to be compliant with Irish revenue. So that's the type of functionality that you're getting there. In terms of if I come back out and actually scan that receipt in, as if I was just on the go, when I take that picture there and then I refresh, might take a second, that's it all picking up that OCR technology. Just so from your guys' points, you can see that actually working. So if I was to actually click in there and hit expense, everything's pre-populated for me there. So I'm literally not having to lift a finger. Even the category, service and consultancy, is picked up, and that's via our smart categorization. How that works is it looks at all your historical data and that merchant name of what you've pre-populated for us, and it goes and finds that and pre-populates that for you. We also have AI smart categorization with that. Really, really useful especially with like large merchant and supply names. I always use the example McDonald's. If I take a picture of a McDonald's receipt, it's going to go look into my categories and see what's a meals and drink, what's a subsistence type category, and go and select that for me. So that's the type of thing that it's doing there. And then with these categories that you're seeing here, What's really useful, especially from an accounting point of view, is you can start to link all your GL codes, your nominal codes, and your cost centers within capture expense. So that seamless integrations you can really start to build upon, not just going into Irish revenue, but also going into your accounting, so you can really directly report on each spend. Cool. So that is what I wanted to show you in terms of receipts, and then in terms of receipts and then that mileage functionality. With the mileage functionality, obviously we have all the Irish rates within our software and the multiple bandings. So if anyone ever goes over a certain threshold or certain banding, it will automatically put them on that lower rate or higher rate with all the tax allocations associated with those bandings. So, with that in mind, what I'm going to do is I'm going to switch over into our browser version. Hopefully, you guys can still see my screen. So, cool. This is the browser version of Capture Expense. Something which we find pretty critical about the browser version and a multi-entity setup in accounts is what we find with a lot of Irish companies is that you have a lot of subsidiary companies or subsidiary entities within your accounting solution. How we deal with that is where you see Capture Expense at the top right. You can drop down and literally report across all those different entities, making it super simple for reporting either as a whole or in the individual organizations. What you're seeing here, though, is basically our dashboard and what we can look at from both a finance and admin view, and then you can view it as an employee view as well, but only certain things. In terms of that approval process and how you can actually sign off on certain expense forms, is our multi-stage approval process. So and it's completely configurable to you guys and each of the different organizations. Really, really useful. So you can have basically as many stages as you want. You can, view the individual claims. So here's some of the forms and some of the policies that I've enabled, so you can kind of see what's being picked up. Some really key ones are those duplicate expenses. Straight away, highlighting to me this employee's already submitted this receipt before. Then you can actually start to look at the mileage forms as well. So modified, they're missing vehicle documents, CO2, how much carbon emissions they've given off, and I'll show you the actual reporting on that. But once you start to, look at these reports in depth, you can highlight them, you can approve them, you can reject them, you can run an audit report. You can also highlight and look at the individual line items and see the actual detail of those expense claims. You have all that ability as an approver. And then you can push through into the second stage. And once claims are fully approved, they flow directly into this accounting section here. And this accounting section has two exports that you're going to run. Export one, depending on if it's an API or a CSV file integration that you wanted to work with, and depending on your accounting solution, all your fully approved expense reports will be in here. And it's a real simple case of highlighting everything and hitting export and loading that file or pushing that file, depending on the integration we do with you. You can run an audit export here. What it's pulling is all the different line item details with pictures of the receipts attached if there is any. And then also what you can do at this stage, if you can actually go into the line items, you can add receipts in, you can, view them, you can split the claims out into multiple line items if needed, especially for project coding. You have all that ability there as well. But that export file is you're loading that out and exporting into your accounting software or payroll, for example. And then we have the Irish revenue report. This is everything that has a subsistence, subsistence rates, travel and subsistence, vouch and unvouch, everything that you need to put onto Irish revenue. That is what this tab is here for. And it's a simple case of highlighting out. And again, hitting that export button. But what that pulls is that JSON file that can go directly into Irish revenue with all the line item details needed. I won't show you the JSON file. It can be done. I can hit export and it will pull everything out for me. But it's a JSON file. Cool. That is how we integrate both the Irish revenue and then also with your accounts. I hope that's clear and concise. It is really, really simple to do, especially from a finance point of view. Couple more things to show because we have 10 minutes left, is our banking. So what we found when we initially went across to the Irish market is connecting to corporate credit cards. How we do it is basically two ways: is open banking, which is a simple case of connecting directly with your banks. So, for example, if I just look at the top, AIB, you can connect directly with AIB, and it's a real feed when someone taps their card and that transaction line comes into their app to then scan in that receipt and associate it with that credit card transaction line. And we do that automatically where it recognizes the merchant name, both in the receipt and the transaction line, and the date and the total. We also run an SFTP transaction feed, and that works with MasterCard and Visa cards. But in practice, it looks like this. So you'd have a full list of all your card holders. You can drop this down, and I can actually look at the real time view of what's being spent from this credit card. So, for example, for me, Tesco, and then a lot of bars and breweries, which you can see. But you can go in, you can start to see when they've been submitted, if they're incomplete, if they're complete, if it's all been fully approved. You have that ability there, and you can pull reports on this. What also makes it really powerful is you can send out reminders, which is a schedule report to those card holders with everything that they're missing in terms of what they haven't submitted down. Cool. Final thing that I want to show on this demo, and then we have got a lot of other functionality, so please reach out if you want to see more or an in-depth view, is our insights. And our insights is done across all these different sections here of what you're going to be reporting against. So mileage or kilometers, how many people, how much are people doing month to month, so you can start to report on this. Also, category spend, what are you spending on your categories, how much are you spending, and then you also have the filtering on the right hand side here. So what's in the draft, what's in the approval, what's been completed, individual categories or individual claimants, and you can export this out into just an Excel document. Then what we also have is user spend. So how much is individual users spending month to month. Makes it really powerful is actually going in and clicking in individual line items. Right here, client trip, I can go in and view, see what they're doing, export that out, actually look into the draft section. It's just me who's got stuff outstanding. Then something else massive, and what I spoke about before, is our ability to report on carbon emissions. So if I take this one, for example, right here, what it's showing me is the individual line item details. So to's and froms, the CO2 emissions I've given off per that journey, and then that ability to export that data into an Excel and have that total at that bottom. And then, you know, starting to build upon that, especially with 2025. I know we have a lot in the UK with Scope 3, but then also I know the EU is starting to build upon that. A lot of organisations are going to have to start doing this. So that's their out the box view for organisations. Then we also have this duplicates report, which is really powerful, and it gives you the ability to see who the worst offenders are, but then also clear up this data. And how we clear up that data is one, looking at the detail. So are these receipts the same? But then two, the ability to merge that. So basically deleting all the duplicate lines and keeping one open, ready available in that process. Really, really useful. Um, Final thing that I want to show you to you, and it's a bit of a game changer, is our AI reporting. So we have two ways of doing our AI reporting. One for finance, and they can pull data really quickly like ChatGPT, so you can ask your own questions. Two is our WhatsApp integration. Same as the app, but you can just do everything through WhatsApp. I wasn't going to show that today just because it's a lot of information to take in. But our AI reporting, especially for that finance team, really, really useful and really powerful for pulling quick reports really quickly. We have our popular prompts here. This is when we first gave it to our user group. What were they asking? So if I do top 10 categories most spent this year on a line chart, it's going to ask that, and it's going to look into my data, and it's going to pull that detail for me. What makes it extremely powerful and that ChatGPT-esque version is being able to ask my own questions. So I say, department spend for 2024. If I do have any department spend, it's going to go, I've asked the question, it's going to go find that data for me. So straight away to pull that data, I've only got it from marketing and sales. Maybe I want that exact same question, but I might be sending this to my senior leadership team. I want this with a bar chart as well. So I can export this out and send it across as a bar chart to my senior leadership team. So it's going to go, give me that same data, and it's pulled it together with a bar chart as well. So I can then go in and export that out as well. You can start to ask it whatever you want, how many claims you got outstanding, anything basically data driven. You can ask that question, it's going to go find it. You can't ask it anything to do with like the weather for this week. That being said, that is everything that I wanted to demo today. What we have now is, if I flip over, is we have, so gone through the demonstration. Ooh, what we have is question time. So we've got 5 minutes left. If anyone has got any outstanding questions, please ask away, and I will go through. I will go through them. If not, what's going to do? Me and my team are going to be reaching out to everyone who signed up to the webinar, and we can go in and obviously reach out to you guys, book in demos, book in maybe just a 10-minute chat if you just want to understand a bit more in terms of the Irish side and how compatible we are. That's absolutely no worries. If anyone's got any questions, please please put it in the chat, and I'll happily go through them. But other than that, I hope everyone enjoyed the demo and the presentation. We're super excited to really expand in the Irish market. We do have quite a lot of Irish clients at the minute who are using the software. So it'd be good to just hear from you guys. We have got 5 minutes. So if you guys haven't got any questions, feel free to drop off. I'm not going to be sharing anything else today. I can see my marketing team have put in the book demo link, so you can click that link there. It takes me to my Calendly link, to my calendar, and you can put in maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes. I think there's also a 15-minute link if you just have some certain questions that you want to ask and want me to go through. Does it do mileage rates for other countries other than Ireland, UK, for then Germany? Let me mark as a question. Okay, cool. Yeah, great question. So yeah, it does. So we can do it. The rates are completely customizable. So it's not just UK and Ireland. We have lots of customers around the world globally. So you can do mileage claims for Netherlands, for Germany. You name it. You can also pre-populate the rates however you want. So it doesn't necessarily have to go off the Netherlands rates. You can completely create your customizable rates. Same with the bandings as well. It's fully customizable in that aspect. With the mileage as well, and other countries and currencies, we can reimburse in basically any currency as well, because we do have the integration with XC.com. Great question though. Tracy. Can you upload to a monthly payroll? Yeah, absolutely. So we have a couple of integrations right now with payroll systems. So yeah, we can create a file, or if there is a direct API link, we can work with their development team, create an API link. But yeah, absolutely, we do it now for a lot of organisations. Being able to create a file and load it straight into payroll and straight onto their payslip, and have it as a payment header. But yeah, absolutely, it's super used way at the minute in our client base. Thanks for the question, Tracy. I hope that answered it. Any more questions? I can see there's still quite a lot of people in the meeting. We have got 2 minutes left, so if anyone has got any more questions, absolutely no worries. If not, um, when you are looking at the link, if you click book a meeting, book a demo, this is kind of what you're going to be seen with. Um, Basically, my diary on the right hand side. If you want to see a demo, it's right there. But there's also other links to booking in a meeting. If not, I'm going to reach out over this week, rest of the week, and probably next week. Um, but other than that, if no one's got any more questions, thanks everyone for joining. I hope you found it informative and how we can basically help you guys digitalize that expense process. I will wait around. I will wait around till 11:30 before I leave. So please, if anyone has any got questions, what I'll do, so I'll stop sharing my screen. You can see me on the big screen now. If no one's got any more questions, I think we'll just can the recording be shared? Absolutely. Great question. Yeah, we've got unless my market team's got an objection to that, I believe everything's been recorded and will be sent out to everyone so they can view so they can view. What we've also got as well, if people are wanting, because I know sometimes watching a 30-minute meeting in a day or 30-minute webinar throughout the day, can be tough. We've also got smaller demos, like 5-minute, 3-minute clips, especially of the Irish market when we first released this. So I can send you those like short 5-minute, 3-minute clips of how we actually solve the problem as well, of basically what I went through today. But cool, it's 11:30. I'm sure everyone else has got other meetings, so we will leave that there. I appreciate everyone joining the webinar today, and please reach out if any questions. We're going to reach out to you guys, but if anyone's got any more, I'm Johnny Dow. My email is johnny.dow@hotmail, not at hotmail, johnny.dow@taxexpense.com. So please reach out, but I'll be in touch. So thanks, guys. Really appreciate the time this morning, and I hope you enjoyed and found it informative. Thank you.